There are those who start with fire in their eyes, a dream in their hands, and a spirit unshaken. But somewhere along the way, the winds blow too hard, the mountains rise too steep, and the noise of the world drowns out the voice inside them. They stagger, they hesitate, they doubt, and eventually they fall into the shadows of their own abandoned ambitions. But then there are the others, the ones who do not waver, who do not bow to distraction, who do not lose sight of the road stretched before them. They are the ones who carry their vision through storms, through deserts, through endless nights of uncertainty. They walk with a steadiness that defies the chaos around them. And you might wonder, what is it about them? What is the secret that keeps their feet planted, their eyes locked, their hearts unwavering? It is not luck, not talent, not some divine stroke of fate. It is the habits they have built, the choices they have made, the discipline they have embraced. These people do not wait for the perfect moment, for a sign, for permission to move forward. They rise early, not because the sun compels them, but because their purpose does. They greet the morning with intention, setting their minds like an archer pulling back the bowstring, knowing exactly where their arrow must land. They do not let their days slip through their fingers like sand, wasted on the trivial, the temporary, the distractions that seek to steal their focus. No, they guard their time as if it were gold, precious and rare. They know that every second spent on the meaningless is a second stolen from their dreams. They are not swayed by the chatter of the world, the voices that whisper, you can't, you shouldn't, you will fail. They have learned to silence the noise, to turn inward, to trust the voice that speaks from within. They do not seek validation from the crowd, nor do they shape their steps to please the doubters. Their focus is carved from an unshakable belief that what they are building, what they are pursuing, is worth the struggle, worth the sacrifice, worth every lonely mile walked in silence. When obstacles rise like mountains before them, they do not tremble, they do not turn back. They understand that focus is not merely the ability to look ahead, but the will to move forward, even when the road is treacherous. They have trained their minds to see challenges not as barriers, but as stepping stones, each one taking them closer to where they are meant to be. They do not complain, do not curse the weight they must carry, for they know that struggle is the fire that forges strength. Discipline is not a word they fear, it is the foundation upon which they stand. While others drift with the wind of impulse, they stay anchored to their commitments. They show up, not just on the days they feel inspired, not just when the journey is easy, but every single day, whether their spirit soars or their body aches with exhaustion. They understand that consistency is the bridge between dreams and reality, and they cross it step by step, never stopping, never slowing, never looking back. These people do not let emotions rule them, do not let fleeting moods dictate their actions. They have mastered the art of self-control, knowing that focus is not a feeling, but a decision. When fear grips them, they do not run. When doubt whispers, they do not listen. When failure knocks, they do not open the door. They press on, guided not by what they feel in a moment, but by what they know to be true, that their purpose is greater than their fears, and their destiny is waiting for no one. Surrounding themselves with like-minded souls, they choose their company wisely. They do not keep the company of the lazy, the aimless, the ones who live only for comfort and distraction. They walk among those who understand, those who push them higher, those who see the vision as clearly as they do. They are not afraid to walk alone, to stand apart, to remove themselves from spaces that do not align with where they are going. They do not waste time chasing every path, every opportunity that sparkles in the distance. They have learned the power of saying no, of turning away from what does not serve their purpose. They are not lured by shortcuts, by the promise of easy success, by the temptation to trade discipline for convenience. They know that true achievement is not found in haste, but in steadfast pursuit. And so they walk the long road with patience, with persistence, with unshakable focus. Even in moments of rest, they do not drift into complacency. They understand that recovery is not an escape, but a preparation. When they step away from their work, they do so with intention, refueling their minds, their bodies, their spirits, so they may return stronger. They do not indulge in distractions that weaken their focus. Do not let their moments of pause turn into days, weeks, months of idleness. They rest with purpose, and they rise with renewed fire. And above all, they never forget why they began. When the journey grows weary, when the weight of their pursuit bears down upon them, they return to the reason the purpose, the calling that set them on this path. They do not allow themselves to forget what is at stake, do not lose themselves in the haze of temporary struggles. They hold their vision close, like a flame in the darkness, protecting it, feeding it, keeping it alive. They are the ones who finish what they start. They are the ones who do not quit. They are the ones who, no matter what, no matter who, no matter how hard the storm rages around them, stay focused. And because they do, they succeed where others falter. They rise where others fall. They reach the heights that most only dream of. They do not wait for the world to align perfectly before they take the first step. They understand that waiting for the right moment is the greatest illusion of all, for time waits for no one. And hesitation is the thief of opportunity. They step forward even when the road is unclear, even when uncertainty grips their every thought, because they know that focus is not about seeing the whole path. It is about trusting that each step taken in faith will reveal the next. They do not dwell on what might go wrong, but keep their eyes fixed on what must go right. They do not let the weight of yesterday's failures press upon today's progress. They refuse to entertain regret, for they know that regret is a chain, and they were made to move freely, to move forward, to move with purpose. Their minds are fortified, trained not to bend under pressure, not to break under criticism, not to crumble under doubt. They have learned that the world will test them, that distractions will whisper sweetly, that comfort will try to seduce them away from their mission. They have seen many fall to the temptations of ease, seen many lose themselves in the chaos of chasing everything and achieving nothing. But they are different. They have drawn a line in the sand and chosen to be unmoved by the noise, unshaken by the doubts of others. They remind themselves daily why they began, why this journey matters, why their focus must remain razor sharp. They do not let pain be the thing that stops them. They let it be the thing that strengthens them. They know the difference between the pain that breaks and the pain that builds. They've come to understand that growth often wears the disguise of struggle. And so they do not curse hardship, do not wish away difficulty. They know that adversity is the great teacher, and only those willing to endure its lessons will rise to the heights others only dream of. They do not ask for an easier road, but for the strength to walk the one they have chosen. They do not wish for the storm to pass, but for the endurance to walk through the rain with their heads held high. While others indulge in distractions, they sharpen their skills. While others waste time in meaningless conversation, they feed their minds with wisdom. They do not fear solitude, for they know that greatness is often cultivated in quiet, in stillness, in the moments when the world is not watching. They understand that focus is not just about avoiding distractions, but about choosing what to immerse themselves in. They choose books over gossip, strategy over entertainment, growth over fleeting pleasure. They do not let temporary amusements steal the energy that should be poured into their dreams. They do not scroll through life, watching others build, achieve, and rise while they remain stagnant. They are the architects of their own futures, and they build brick by brick, day by day, thought by thought, action by action. Their focus is their shield. They protect it from the opinions of those who do not understand their journey. They do not need everyone to believe in them, do not need approval, applause, or validation. They have learned that those who have never pursued anything beyond comfort will always question those who dare to chase something greater. They have made peace with being misunderstood, with being doubted, with walking alone when necessary. They do not beg the blind to see their vision, do not waste time explaining their fire to those who have never burned with passion for something greater. Every day they recommit to their journey. They wake up with the same hunger, the same drive, the same discipline. They do not rely on motivation, for they know that motivation is fleeting, unreliable, a spark that dies out if not nurtured by action. They do not wait to feel inspired, they act, and in action, they find inspiration. They do not let emotions dictate their consistency. They show up on the days they feel tired, on the days they feel defeated, on the days they feel invisible. They show up because they understand that dreams do not wait for perfect circumstances. They know that greatness is not built in comfort, but in persistence, in the willingness to keep going, even when every fiber of their being begs them to stop. They do not compare their progress to others. They have no time to look left or right, no energy to waste on envy or self-doubt. They know that every journey is unique, that everyone moves at their own pace. They do not measure their success by the speed of someone else's journey, do not let impatience steal their joy. They trust that their path is unfolding exactly as it should, that every effort is planting seeds even when the harvest is not yet visible. They celebrate small wins, for they know that the road to great achievement is paved with tiny victories. They are not reckless with their energy. They know that focus requires fuel, that the mind and body must be nurtured, strengthened, sustained. They do not burn themselves out chasing speed over endurance. They rest with intention, recharge with purpose, knowing that longevity is the key to true success. They do not glorify exhaustion, do not wear busyness as a badge of honor. They understand that true focus is not about working nonstop, but about working smart, about knowing when to push forward and when to step back. They move with wisdom, with strategy, with an awareness that balance is not weakness, but a necessary tool for sustained success. They are relentless in their pursuit, but not rigid. They are open to growth, to learning, to evolving. They do not fear change, do not resist new knowledge, do not cling to outdated methods simply because they are familiar. They adapt, they adjust, they refine their approach as they go. They are not threatened by mistakes, for they know that failure is a part of the journey, a lesson, not a life sentence. They do not let the fear of getting it wrong stop them from taking action. They trust that every misstep is a step closer to mastery, that every setback carries within it the seed of a comeback. They do not wait for someone to hand them an opportunity. They create their own. They do not sit in the shadows hoping to be noticed. They step into the light, take risks, put themselves out there. They are not afraid to ask, to knock, to seek, to demand from life what they know they are capable of earning. They are not passive participants in their own destinies. They are active architects, builders of the life they envision. They do not let temporary pain convince them to quit. They have made peace with discomfort, with sacrifice, with delayed gratification. They know that focus is not just about keeping their eyes on the goal, but about keeping their hearts steady in the face of hardship. They do not let the weight of the present moment crush the vision of their future. They remind themselves that every struggle is temporary, that every dark night eventually gives way to morning. They trust that if they hold on, if they keep moving, if they refuse to give up, they will arrive exactly where they are meant to be. They do not let the end goal blind them to the journey. They find joy in the process, in the work, in the slow unfolding of their growth. They do not spend their days wishing for the finish line, missing the beauty of the climb. They embrace each step, each challenge, each lesson. They have learned that true fulfillment is not in the destination, but in the transformation that happens along the way. They do not let the world define success for them. They know that focus is not about chasing what society deems valuable, but about pursuing what sets their soul on fire. They listen to their own calling, follow their own path, measure success by their own standards. They do not live for applause, for approval, for validation. They live for purpose, for impact, for the deep, unshakable knowing that they are walking in alignment with what they were created to do. And so they keep going. No matter the setbacks, no matter the distractions, no matter the obstacles, they stay focused, they stay committed, they stay unshaken. Because they know that in the end, focus is not just about what they achieve, it is about who they become in the process. They walk through life with an awareness that every moment, every choice, every action is either sharpening their focus or dulling it. They do not allow themselves the luxury of mindless wandering, of drifting through days with no direction. They understand that time is the most precious resource, more valuable than gold, more fleeting than the wind, and they refuse to waste it. They do not move without purpose, do not speak without intention, do not act without reason. Everything they do is aligned with their vision. Everything they pour themselves into is leading them toward something greater. They are not distracted by the trivial, the fleeting, the insignificant. They move with precision, with strategy, with a clear understanding that every step taken in focus is a step toward their destiny. They do not crumble under pressure, do not allow challenges to shake them from their foundation. They know that life will test them, that adversity will come, that there will be days when everything seems to be working against them, but they do not bow to difficulty. They do not surrender to hardship. They rise with an unshakable spirit, knowing that struggle is a part of the journey, that setbacks are merely lessons disguised as obstacles. They do not wallow in self-pity, do not waste time complaining, do not look for sympathy. They take ownership of their path, knowing that only they have the power to shape their future. They do not seek excuses, they seek solutions. Their focus is not built on fragile motivation, but on deep-rooted discipline. They understand that feelings are temporary, that inspiration comes and goes, that there will be days when their passion feels distant. But they do not rely on feelings to push them forward. They move because they have committed to the process, because they have trained themselves to act regardless of how they feel. They have built habits that sustain them, routines that anchor them, a mindset that refuses to let temporary emotions dictate permanent results. They do not give in to laziness, do not allow comfort to pull them from their path. They do what needs to be done, not because it is easy, not because it is convenient, but because they have made a promise to themselves. And they intend to keep it. They do not waste energy on negativity. They do not dwell on what went wrong, do not replay past failures in their minds, do not allow disappointment to plant seeds of doubt in their spirit. They acknowledge their mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. They do not carry the weight of yesterday into today. They refuse to let regret steal their energy, refuse to let bitterness poison their progress. They are focused on the future, on growth, on becoming the best version of themselves. They know that holding on to negativity is like carrying a heavy burden on a long journey. It only slows them down. They do not wait for someone else to push them, do not rely on external forces to keep them moving. They are self-driven, self-motivated, self-disciplined. They do not need someone standing over them, reminding them to stay focused, to stay committed, to keep going. They have built an internal fire, a drive that comes from within, a relentless determination that does not need permission, approval, or encouragement. They push themselves because they know that no one else will do it for them. They hold themselves accountable, demand excellence from themselves, set high standards, and refuse to settle for less. They are not afraid of sacrifice. They know that focus requires giving up the things that do not serve them, that success demands the discipline to say no to distractions, to temptations, to anything that pulls them away from their path. They do not entertain idle conversations. Do not waste hours on meaningless activities. Do not let comfort steal their potential. They understand that every great achievement comes at a cost, and they are willing to pay the price. They give up short-term pleasure for long-term success. They choose growth over ease, progress over stagnation, purpose over indulgence. They embrace discomfort, knowing that growth is never found in the familiar. They do not resist change. Do not cling to what is safe. Do not fear the unknown. They step into uncertainty with confidence, knowing that every new challenge is an opportunity to evolve. They do not seek shelter from the storm. They walk through it, knowing that the rain will only make them stronger. They do not fear failure, because they understand that failure is simply a step on the path to mastery. They are not deterred by mistakes. Do not let setbacks define them. They rise every time they fall, because they know that every fall is temporary, but giving up is permanent. They do not allow themselves to be ruled by fear. They have trained themselves to act in spite of fear, to move forward even when doubt creeps in, to take risks even when uncertainty looms. They do not let fear be the reason they hesitate, the reason they delay, the reason they hold back. They know that fear is an illusion, a barrier that exists only in the mind. They refuse to let it control them. They look fear in the face and move forward anyway, knowing that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. They surround themselves with greatness. They do not waste time with people who drain their energy, who plant seeds of doubt, who live in excuses and complain about circumstances. They choose their circle carefully, knowing that the people around them will either elevate them or pull them down. They seek out those who inspire them, who challenge them, who push them to be better. They are not afraid to walk away from negativity, to cut ties with those who do not support their growth. They understand that focus requires protecting their energy, their mindset, their environment. They do not allow themselves to be pulled into the distractions of drama, of gossip, of mediocrity. They are too busy building, too busy growing, too busy becoming. They do not need recognition to keep going. They do not rely on applause, do not seek approval, do not wait for validation. They work in silence, in the shadows, in the quiet places where success is truly built. They are not concerned with proving themselves to others. They are only concerned with proving themselves to themselves. They are driven by purpose, not by attention. They are focused on results, not on being seen. They do not let praise inflate their ego. Do not let criticism shake their confidence. They stay steady, stay grounded, stay locked in on their vision. They do not let setbacks define their story. They have faced failure, rejection, disappointment, but they do not let those moments become the end of their journey. They rise again, stronger, wiser, more determined. They refuse to be victims of circumstance, refuse to let obstacles write their fate. They take control, take ownership, take responsibility for their success. They do not wait for opportunities to come to them, they create them. They do not wait for doors to open, they build their own. They do not wait for someone to give them a chance, they make their own way. They are relentless, unshakable, unstoppable. They do not look back, do not second guess, do not hesitate. They move forward with clarity, with conviction, with purpose. They know where they are going, and nothing will pull them off course. They do not entertain distractions, do not waste energy on what does not matter, do not allow themselves to be derailed. They stay the course, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it gets, no matter who doubts them. They do not let the world dictate their limits. They refuse to believe in ceilings, in barriers, in impossibilities. They push beyond what others say is possible, beyond what is expected, beyond what is ordinary. They do not settle for average, do not accept mediocrity, do not shrink themselves to fit into small spaces. They expand, they stretch, they rise. They believe in their potential, in their capacity, in their ability to achieve greatness, and so they keep going, day after day, moment after moment, step after step. They stay focused, stay disciplined, stay committed, because they know that success is not given, it is earned. It is built through consistency, through perseverance, through unbreakable focus. They are not waiting for their dreams to happen, they are making them happen. They do not wait for inspiration to strike before they take action. They do not wait for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, or the perfect opportunity. They understand that waiting is a slow poison, that hesitation is the grave where dreams are buried. They move because movement creates momentum, because action births clarity, because discipline will carry them farther than fleeting bursts of motivation ever could. They do not need to feel ready, they only need to begin. And so they do. They rise before the world stirs, while others are lost in sleep, lost in delay, lost in excuses. They begin when doubt still lingers, when fear still whispers, when uncertainty still clouds their path. But they do not stop. They keep moving forward because they have learned that the only way out of fear is through it. The only way to silence doubt is with action. The only way to see the destination is to walk the road, step by step, mile by mile, until the fog clears and the path reveals itself. They do not fear hard work, do not shy away from the effort that focus demands. They know that to reach the level of mastery they seek, they must be willing to do what others will not. They are not intimidated by the long hours, the sacrifices, the unseen labor that success requires. They do not expect quick results. Do not chase shortcuts. Do not fall for the lie that greatness can be bought cheaply. They embrace the grind, knowing that every small effort, every unseen moment of discipline, every decision to stay committed when quitting would be easier, is another brick laid in the foundation of their future. They have made peace with the struggle because they know that ease has never built anything worth remembering. They do not seek distractions to escape discomfort. They do not fill empty moments with mindless entertainment. Do not use distractions as a crutch to avoid the hard work of staying focused. They are aware that every notification, every idle conversation, every unnecessary indulgence is a thief that robs them of their progress. They are ruthless in protecting their attention, treating it like a sacred resource that must not be wasted. They create an environment where focus thrives, where interruptions are minimized, where they can work with deep, undisturbed concentration. They know that focus is a muscle, and they train it daily, strengthening it, sharpening it, refusing to let it be weakened by the distractions that trap so many in a cycle of mediocrity. They are not moved by comparison. They do not look at someone else's journey and feel discouraged. Do not measure their own progress against the highlight reels of others. They know that focus requires looking forward, not sideways. They refuse to be drawn into the race of who is achieving faster, who is succeeding sooner, who is gaining recognition first. They know that real success is not about speed, but about endurance, about the ability to stay the course when others burn out. They trust their own process, believe in their own timing, and stay committed to their own path. They do not waste energy on resentment. Do not let bitterness take root in their hearts. They do not dwell on past disappointments. Do not allow betrayal or failure to make them cynical. They understand that harboring negativity is like carrying weights on a long journey. It only slows them down. They release what does not serve them, forgive what needs to be forgiven, and move forward unburdened, unshackled, unafraid. They know that success is not just about what they accomplish, but about the person they become along the way. And they refuse to let negativity shape that person into something small. They are flexible but never aimless. They understand that the road may twist and turn, that plans may need to change, that strategies may need to be adapted, but their vision never wavers. They are not rigid in their methods, but they are unbreakable in their purpose. They do not mistake flexibility for a lack of commitment. Do not use obstacles as an excuse to abandon their mission. They are willing to adjust, willing to learn, willing to pivot when necessary, but never at the cost of their focus. They stay clear on what matters, stay rooted in their why, stay steady in their pursuit. They do not chase applause, do not seek validation, do not crave recognition. They work in silence, in the unseen hours, in the moments when no one is watching. They do not need to be celebrated to stay committed, do not need constant affirmation to keep going. They are fueled by something deeper than praise, something stronger than approval. They are driven by a hunger that no outside force can satisfy, by a purpose that no amount of applause can replace. They do not let their work be shaped by what will get the most attention. Do not let their dreams be dictated by trends or public opinion. They are focused on their craft, on their purpose, on their mission, and they do not waver. They do not fear solitude. They understand that focus often requires stepping away, disconnecting, creating space where clarity can thrive. They are not afraid to be alone with their thoughts, to sit in the stillness and listen to their own intuition. They do not need constant noise, do not need endless social interaction to feel whole. They value their time, their mental energy, their peace. They do not allow their focus to be diluted by unnecessary distractions. Do not let external chaos drown out their inner voice. They know that true clarity comes not in the noise, but in the silence, and they embrace it fully. They do not live in the past. They do not let old failures haunt them. Do not let past mistakes define them. Do not let regrets dictate their future. They understand that the past is a place of lessons, not a place to dwell. They take what they need from it, extract the wisdom from their experiences, and then they move forward. They do not replay old failures. Do not waste time wishing they had done things differently. They know that energy spent looking back is energy stolen from the present, and they refuse to waste it. They focus on what is in their control, on the choices they can make now, on the actions they can take today. They do not give up when progress is slow. They understand that success is often invisible in its early stages, that growth happens beneath the surface before it can be seen. They do not get discouraged when results are not immediate, do not abandon their work when the rewards are not yet visible. They trust the process, trust the compounding effect of daily effort, trust that every small action is building something greater. They do not allow impatience to rob them of their progress. Do not let frustration push them to quit. They stay steady, stay disciplined, stay unwavering, knowing that their work is not in vain. They do not let circumstances dictate their focus. They understand that life will always bring challenges, that there will never be a perfect season where everything aligns effortlessly. They do not wait for conditions to be ideal. Do not let external difficulties become an excuse to stop. They work with what they have, where they are, with whatever tools and opportunities are available to them. They do not waste time complaining about what is missing. Do not let obstacles paralyze them. They find a way forward, no matter what. They do not allow fear of failure to keep them stagnant. They do not let the possibility of making mistakes keep them from taking action. They understand that perfection is an illusion, that waiting until they feel completely ready is just another form of procrastination. They move forward even when they are uncertain, even when they are afraid, even when the path is unclear. They know that growth happens in motion, that clarity comes through action, that confidence is built through doing. They do not fear failure because They know it is part of the journey. And so they press on. They do not stop, do not hesitate, do not turn back. They stay focused, stay disciplined, stay committed to the path they have chosen. They know that distractions will come, that obstacles will arise, that the journey will test them at every turn, but they refuse to be shaken. They refuse to lose sight of their purpose. They refuse to let anything or anyone pull them from the mission they have set out to complete. They are the ones who stay focused, no matter what. And because they do, they are the ones who rise, the ones who achieve, the ones who reach the heights that others only dream of. They do not waste their breath on justifications, do not spend their days explaining their choices to those who do not understand. They have long since realized that those who doubt them will always find a reason to question, and those who believe in them need no explanation. They do not seek to be understood by everyone, do not bend their will to fit into the narrow spaces of others' expectations. They have freed themselves from the weight of needing approval, knowing that focus requires detachment from the noise of the crowd. They move with quiet confidence, letting their actions speak, letting their results be the proof, letting their success be the loudest response. They do not allow fatigue to become an excuse. They rest when necessary, but they do not surrender to exhaustion when they know they are capable of more. They understand that the mind will always whisper of comfort, will always suggest slowing down, will always tempt with the softness of ease. But they push past that voice, knowing that mastery is found beyond the limits of comfort. They listen to their bodies, care for their well-being, but they do not mistake temporary weariness for a reason to quit. They know the difference between needing a moment to breathe and making an excuse to stop. They do not let small losses shake them. They know that even the best plans will sometimes fail, that even the most disciplined will have off days, that even the strongest will face setbacks. But they do not let one failure become an identity. Do not let one mistake rewrite the story of their ability. They have trained themselves to see obstacles as detours, not dead ends. They do not collapse under pressure, do not break under adversity, do not lose faith in themselves when things do not go as planned. They trust that every challenge is a test, that every test is a lesson, and that every lesson is shaping them into something greater than they were before. They do not hesitate when opportunity knocks. They do not shrink in the face of possibility. Do not allow fear to paralyze them when the moment to act arrives. They know that hesitation kills dreams, that waiting too long can mean losing what could have been theirs. They trust their instincts, trust their preparation, trust that they are ready even if they do not feel it. They do not let self-doubt whisper them into inaction. Do not let insecurity convince them they are not enough. They seize the moment, step into the unknown, move forward even when uncertainty lingers in the background. They know that greatness belongs to those who dare, not to those who wait. They do not carry unnecessary burdens. They do not waste time holding on to resentment. Do not waste energy fighting battles that do not matter. Do not weigh themselves down with grudges that serve no purpose. They understand that focus requires freedom, that to move swiftly they must be light. They do not allow themselves to be anchored by bitterness. Do not drag the past into the present. Do not let old wounds keep them from new victories. They forgive, not because others always deserve it, but because they deserve peace. They release, not because it is easy, but because carrying weight that does not serve them is too costly a price to pay. They do not confuse movement with progress. They do not chase every opportunity that presents itself. Do not scatter their energy across too many projects. Do not dilute their focus by trying to do everything at once. They are selective, intentional, precise. They know that focus is not just about what they do, but about what they choose not to do. They are not afraid to say no, not afraid to let go of what does not align, not afraid to step away from anything that pulls them from their true path. They have learned that success is not about doing the most, but about doing what matters most. They do not wait for motivation to find them. They do not wake up hoping for the right mood. Do not sit idly waiting for inspiration to strike. They act first, knowing that movement creates motivation, that consistency breeds progress, that showing up even on the hard days is what separates the disciplined from the distracted. They have built routines that keep them grounded, rituals that keep them centered, habits that keep them moving. They do not rely on fleeting emotions to carry them forward. They rely on the power of consistency, on the strength of daily discipline, on the unbreakable foundation they have built within themselves. They do not let failure become their final chapter. They do not stop at the first sign of difficulty. Do not retreat when the road becomes steep. Do not surrender when the odds are against them. They have learned that failure is not an end, but a beginning, not a wall, but a door, not a reason to quit, but a reason to push harder. They analyze their mistakes, adjust their approach, refine their methods, and then they try again. They do not allow defeat to define them. Do not let temporary setbacks convince them to abandon their mission. They know that failure is only fatal if they let it be. They do not waste time dreaming without doing. They are not content with ideas alone, not satisfied with plans that never leave the page, not impressed by words unbacked by action. They understand that thoughts without movement are empty, that dreams without effort are illusions, that potential without discipline is wasted. They do not get lost in the fantasy of success without embracing the reality of the work it requires. They put in the effort, make the sacrifices, take the necessary steps. They are not merely dreamers, they are doers, builders, creators. They do not seek perfection. They do not let the fear of imperfection keep them from starting. Do not wait until everything is flawless before they take action. They understand that progress is messy, that growth is uncomfortable, that success is built in the space between where they are and where they want to be. They move forward even when their work is imperfect, even when they do not feel fully ready, even when they know they still have much to learn. They trust that mastery is not born in hesitation, but in the willingness to begin before perfection is possible. They do not let criticism shake their foundation. They do not crumble when others doubt them. Do not retreat when faced with negativity. Do not let the opinions of those who do not understand their vision hold them back. They know that not everyone will support their journey, that some will question, that some will ridicule, that some will try to plant seeds of doubt in their mind, but they are unmoved. They are focused not on pleasing others, but on fulfilling their purpose. They listen to wisdom, but they do not entertain baseless negativity. They know that criticism is inevitable, but they refuse to let it become a roadblock. They do not live in fear of change. They embrace the unknown, step into new seasons with confidence, walk into unfamiliar territory with an open mind. They do not cling to the past, do not hold on to outdated ways, do not resist the evolution that growth demands. They understand that change is the birthplace of transformation, that discomfort is the soil where new possibilities grow, that what feels uncertain now may be the very thing that leads them to their greatest breakthroughs. They are willing to let go of the old to make room for the new. They do not settle. They do not accept mediocrity, do not compromise on their vision, do not stop short of their full potential. They push past limitations, stretch beyond what they thought possible, demand more from themselves when comfort tempts them to stay where they are. They are never satisfied with staying the same, never willing to let stagnation take root, never content with being anything less than their best. They chase excellence, knowing that the pursuit itself is what shapes them into something greater. And so they keep going, day after day, moment after moment, step after step. They stay focused not because it is easy, but because they have chosen to be. They keep pushing, keep striving, keep growing, knowing that every sacrifice, every effort, every disciplined choice is shaping them into the person they were meant to be. They do not waver, do not break, do not turn back. They stay focused no matter what. And in the end, that is what sets them apart. They are the ones who refuse to be swayed by distractions, who do not let fleeting emotions dictate their actions, who rise each day with a sense of purpose that is unshakable. They understand that success is not a matter of luck, but of unwavering discipline, of showing up even when it is difficult, of pushing forward even when the path is unclear. Their focus is their shield, their determination is their weapon, and their vision is their guide. They do not waste time comparing, do not surrender to fear, do not allow failure to define them. They learn, they adapt, they grow, they do not wait for the perfect moment, do not hesitate when opportunity calls, do not shrink in the face of challenge. They move forward because they know that action creates momentum, that discipline builds results, that consistency shapes destiny. While others are distracted by noise, they remain centered on their purpose. While others hesitate, they take action. While others look for excuses, they seek solutions. And in the end, when the dust settles, when time reveals the truth, They are the ones who stand victorious, not because they had an easier road, but because they refused to lose focus no matter what.